everyone. Nice to see all of you. I'm Barry Edelstein, Erna Fincy Viterbi, Artistic Director of the Old Globe. And yes, why not? And I'm delighted to welcome you to the Lowell Davies Festival Theater, which stands aptly this evening in the middle of the Conrad Prebys Theater Center. You are looking at Wilson Chin's witty set for the Globe's wonderful new production of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, which opened Saturday night and is wonderful, and come see it, it's great. There's a line in the play that I hope you won't mind me quoting. The poorest service merits thanks. Even when someone does something minor for you, say thank you. The poorest service merits thanks. The line's on my mind because tonight we're thinking of Conrad Prebys, someone whose service to all of us was anything but poor. And if Shakespeare thinks we should express gratitude even for mediocre work, then what eloquence will we need when graced with gifts as amazing as those Conrad gave us? I've had some practice with that question because I had the great good fortune to know Conrad Prebys in the last years of his life. He was a major benefactor of the Old Globe. You don't get your name on the joint for nothing. But he was much more. He was a longtime board member, a longtime audience member, a longtime counselor, a longtime fan, and a longtime friend. Shortly after I arrived here 10 years ago, he took me to breakfast. I'm a man of the theater, and 8 a.m. is not exactly my jam. I rolled bleary-eyed into the town and country in Mission Valley, and the maitre d' led me across the room to Conrad's usual table. As I approached, I saw a gentleman of a formal mien, double-breasted suit, Windsor-knotted tie. I thought, I'm gonna need a bigger coffee cup. But as soon as I said, "Good morning, I'm the new head of the Old Globe," the sun came out. Conrad leapt to his feet, roared, "I've been waiting for you," filled the room with a belly laugh that I later discovered was his signature, and then gave me the kind of hug that could only come from a man whose favorite animal was the polar bear. We talked about everything. His humble beginnings in the pizzerias of Indiana, his love of California, that magical realm that changed his life, his first $1.50 an acre real estate deals in the high desert town of Yucca Valley, which I knew because it's next to Joshua Tree, my favorite place on planet Earth. Then we veered into classical music, painting, and of course the theater. And from there, into the Boys and Girls Clubs of San Diego, and Conrad's ideas about how to bring the young people there, young people, a lot like the kid he once was, into contact with the arts we both revered. In the years to come, over more breakfasts and dinners and office meetings and at opening nights and intermissions and on phone calls, I came to know Conrad as a man of contrasts, a salt-of-the-earth billionaire, an aesthete with the spirit of a fanboy. He'd express sheer joy at the tone a certain singer had produced in a musical, then give a disquisition on the historical period of a new drama. He told me how nervous he was to meet Arthur Miller at a Globe opening, and then cross-examined me to within an inch of my life about the costume design of some Shakespeare I'd directed. Most of all, though, he talked about how much he simply loved the theater. He found happiness in places like this, an innocent joy. And he was clear and strong and detailed on how he intended his philanthropy to help others find the same value in this art form that he did. That's why Conrad's name is on our campus and on so many other arts institutions in this city that was lucky to be his adopted home. Because at bottom, what he understood was simple and powerful, that the arts matter, that the arts make a city more livable, that the arts enhance people's lives, that the arts connect us to something bigger and more beautiful and more meaningful than ourselves. That this galvanizing vision of arts philanthropy survives him is perhaps Conrad's greatest legacy. Those of us whose life's work is to make art and engage our neighbors with it owe Conrad a debt of gratitude. And I'm pleased to have this opportunity to pay it to the foundation he set up to carry out his vision. The foundation is going to continue to connect the arts of San Diego to the people of San Diego, just as Conrad wished, and I am grateful. And though I will always see Conrad through the lens of the arts, let me thank the foundation too for all it will do in so many other corners of our region's not-for-profit sector. I speak for everyone here when I say again, I am grateful. To the board of the Conrad Prebys Foundation, I'm thankful in particular, because you have just made one of the single greatest decisions I've seen a charitable foundation make over my 3 decades-long career. You hired Grant Oliphant. In him, you have appointed a CEO who not only shares Conrad's love of the arts and his sense of their indispensability to the life of a great city, but who will also advance that vision in ways that would make Conrad rejoice. Bringing Grant Oliphant to San Diego is a game changer. He is one of the finest thinkers in the field, with a track record of effective philanthropy and transformative advocacy. He has an extraordinary grasp of the civic purpose of the arts and an uncommon ability to explain clearly and passionately the complex ways that virtuosity and citizenship and participation and emotion weave around each other in a unified vision of the arts as a public good. He lives and breathes the ethos and guiding principles of the American nonprofit world. That's rare, special, and to be praised. Grant is a visionary leader and a good guy, and his arrival here has me and the ghost of Conrad Prebys and the polar bears at the zoo dancing a jig. San Diego is blessed with a remarkable arts sector. In the theater and music and museums, our city punches way above its weight. My colleagues in institutional leadership here make up one of the strongest such cohorts in any American city. I know the same is true of all the other sectors Conrad supported here: healthcare, education, social services. With Conrad Prebys as our North Star, with his namesake foundation sailing at full steam, and with Grant Oliphant at the helm, I am certain that the next decade will see San Diego lead the way for California and indeed the entire country. I am bullish on our prospects, deeply excited, and hugely grateful. Thank you for allowing me to welcome you here this evening. And now it's my honor and pleasure to introduce the chair of the board of the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Tony Cortez.
Well, that was a tough act to follow. Thanks, Barry. I'll get you for that. So, I wanted to open this also with a few words about Conrad. We certainly have to recognize him as his friend of over 40 years and my mentor, business partner, and associate. We had a lot of history, and it was fun to watch him grow, and it was fun to start making the gifts that he made all throughout his career. It's very fitting that we have this here, as Barry mentioned, with his one of his favorite places with his name right out there on the plaza. He'd be very excited about that, I think, for us to have this celebration here. I want to thank Barry, the artistic director here, for hosting this event and having us, and the staff of the Globe also for making this venue available for us. Couldn't have been a better spot. I think it's really great. I want to thank our staff. We have a tiny staff. And I would like to ask, as I mention the names, for all of you to stand up, hold your applause, and remain standing until we get. I'd like for the folks here to see kind of the whole team. So I'm going to start with Erin Decker, Grant. She's back there in the back. I think a lot of you might know Erin. Then we have Nikki Fair. She's our operations guru. Where's Nikki? Nikki's working somewhere. She's probably on the laptop. That's Nikki. And then we have Nadia Castañeda. She's back there too. She's Grant's gatekeeper. She holds the keys to the access, so she's the one you want to make friends with, I think. Alexandra Krzyzewski. Where is Alexandra? We love you, dear. And Nancy Wynn. Where's Nancy's right there, standing up in the back. And a very, very special thank you to Ann Hill, who served as our interim executive director. Where's Ann? Over there. She liked to equate the foundation to a ship, and that she was at the helm for about 1.5 years while we conducted this search. Truly a gracious lady. I love you very much, Ann. Thank you. So now for our hardworking board. There's only 4 of us. Dan Yates, stand up please, Dan. Hardworking. This guy works with his wife. Stay up, please. Stay up. with his wife Yasmin. The well-connected Alan Sorkin, a philanthropist in his own right, with his wife Lou Arn. My friend Pete Ellsworth, a very, very experienced philanthropist. He's the lawyer of the group. And his wife Doris, I think, is up there. Hi, Doris. I just want to thank you all for all the hard work that we've done. And I'm sorry, and my beautiful wife said, boy, I'm going to be in trouble for that one. I knew I'm in trouble now. That was, and I think Sarah's the only one in this room that I knew longer than Conrad. We've been married for 43 years. So I want to thank you all for coming. You know, this celebration is for you, the folks, to acknowledge all the hard work you do in the community. That small staff that I mentioned and this small board have, we've written grants over $100 million that have all been administrated by this staff, and this is for the community, just like Conrad would have loved to see it happen. You know, I don't think Conrad realized how big this thing was going to be. I tried to talk to him many times when he was alive about the foundation. Oh, it's all set up. Don't worry about a thing. You won't have to do anything. Well, when I see him, I'm going to punch him in the nose. But that's okay. Anyway, just this is, again, to thank you to all you folks for all the hard work you do in the community. Hopefully you'll have a chance to network, commingle a little bit, get some face time with some of the board members and staff. And Pete is standing by to answer all your hard questions. So, our search for our CEO, Grant Oliphant, was 386 applications. This was a nationwide search. And that started first with finding the right headhunter. And we had hired a strategic planning company to help us kind of get our feet going, or get our direction planned. And we had already started a search for our permanent CEO, and they asked us who we were talking to, and they go, no, you need a specialist that specializes in the field of the philanthropic world to find who you need. They put together the job description. We got across the nation 386 candidates, several from San Diego. But as it turns out so many times, that Grant's connection actually came through a series of personal contacts and networking, folks that knew of him and knew. He didn't know he was looking for a job. We had to gang up on him and convince him of that point. You know, it might have had a little bit of effect when our first interview with him when we brought him to town was aboard a catamaran arranged by Dan, sitting on the San Diego harbor. Now, this was about a 70, 75 degree day, and I think you said that the temperature in Pittsburgh was, I thought it was 8 degrees. I didn't know if it was plus or minus 8, but anyway, either way, it made an impression on me. And then we moved on to lunch at the yacht club, but I really think what swung the deal was that tour around town, 2 of them in my big 4x4 trucks. One of them with Dan, and then a second one with his beautiful and energetic wife, Aradna, who she's not here today. She's back in Pittsburgh tying up all the loose ends, winding up she's resigned from a 17-year career of her own working for a very substantial nonprofit in Pittsburgh. Coming here with Grant, of course, to support him and join in this adventure with him. So I'm really sorry she's not here today. She's really a delightful person. So Grant's joining the foundation. It's really just what we needed. We really just, he's such a good fit. We needed somebody to kind of gather us up. We were all working hard, probably way too hard, but we were all working hard to try to fulfill Conrad's wishes. But we had kind of a scattered approach, and Grant now has brought us in, and he's really working hard, I think, to help us direct our focus and get a good strategy in place. And really looking forward to the future to see what he has to what he has to show us in his bag of tricks. So on behalf of the board and our hardworking staff, I'd like now at this point to introduce my friend, don't tell him I said that, our new CEO, Grant Oliphant.
All right, you're the stalwarts. Thank you for coming down and being in here for this program. You knew after all the food and drink there had to be a program, right? So thank you for coming to it. It really is a delight to be able to talk with you for a moment and share some thoughts and to be welcomed by you and to just celebrate with you. I do want to start by repeating some of the thank yous that you've already heard. But one that you haven't heard is to thank my board. When I came for that interview on that, yes, it was on a boat, but when I came for that interview, I was struck by the sincerity of these gentlemen and their earnestness about one thing, which was doing right by the legacy that they'd been handed and making sure that this community benefited. And when I went through, when I was going through this decision, I was asked by somebody in Pittsburgh who was not happy that I was taking this job, and they asked me, do you know these people well enough to trust them with your career? And I said, no, but I trust them, And it was because of the integrity with which they approached me and with which they approached their task. And everything in this work comes down to that, to the seriousness and passion with which people really face this obligation to fulfill the sacred mission of a foundation, which is to make the greatest possible use of its resources for the benefit of the community that we serve, and to be part of a collective of people who are intent on doing that. So thank you to my board. I also want to thank the team. The team is extraordinary and small but mighty, amazed me every day, and I am so grateful for the work that they've done. I also want to ask Ann Hill to come down for a moment, if she would, very quickly. So while Ann is coming down, let me just say that there is an art to being an interim. It is a difficult task to take on with the sort of style and graciousness that Ann did, the leadership of a foundation during the best of times and the easiest of circumstances. It would be difficult. And Ann came in and just provided wonderful leadership to the organization. And then she did the even harder thing, which was to hand it off to the next person, and to make me feel welcomed and part of and as though she had just been readying the organization for me all along. So Ann, thank you. Thank you. And we do have something for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So one of my favorite lines from the Oscars ever was not the slap. It was Frances McDormand said one year at the Oscars, "I got some things to say, so do I." And I'm going to walk through them very quickly, and then I'm going to be interviewed by one of the first people I became friends with when I came to town, Lizette Eastlis, who I just was so impressed by the way in which she interviews people and engages them in talking about the community. So when I was thinking, well, who could do that for me? There was only one candidate. So thank you, Lizette. Okay, very quickly, what I want to share with you is some thoughts about why we're doing this event, because a number of you have remarked that it's unusual, and a little bit about me so that I can just briefly share with you some of my background and what I think about this job and this work. I want to touch third on what I think the opportunity in San Diego is, and which also answers the question of why I stepped into this role. And then fourth, I want to talk a little bit about our approach. And it's still really early days yet, but I think it's important to check in and share with you what we're thinking and hearing. So bear with me. I have a timer in the back who is going to be, Alexandra is going to be holding up signs to tell me if I'm going too long, and I'm sure my board will as well. So, all right, so why this gathering? Tony already said that one of the reasons we're doing this is simply to celebrate and honor you. And I believe that's hugely important. We believe it's hugely important because these are hard times. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but a foundation, no matter how large it is actually just a drop in the bucket of need in our society. And we are dwarfed in scale by most of the systems that we would want to try and affect. And the only way we get good at what we do is in collaboration and partnership with organizations that we're privileged to support and with organizations that we're privileged to work with. So when Tony says that this is about celebrating you, that's what it means. The second reason that we wanted to do this was to embody how we want to work, which is in relationship with you. And I know this is a little more one way than that would typically imply, but we did think it was important to get together as a group and maybe feel some of the energy that I felt out in the plaza. It was an extraordinary gathering for me. It's an extraordinary gathering to see the folks who are here right now and to think about what is possible in San Diego in terms of us getting together and working together. And then the third reason for getting together was, I guess, to introduce me. So when I was driving across the country from Pittsburgh to here, I was driving by Columbus, Ohio, and literally as I was within 50 miles of Columbus, Ohio, a friend of mine named Doug Kreidler, who heads the Columbus Foundation, very large, old, venerable community foundation, texted me on the road, and I promise I didn't read it. I let Siri read it to me. But he wrote, somewhere, he's a literary guy, and he wrote, somewhere a book is being written. According to John Gardner or Dostoevsky, there are only two themes in all of literature. One is that a person goes on a journey. The second is a stranger comes to town. And you, my friend, are living both. and I did have to stop and laugh to think about how true that was for me. But one of the reasons I was so glad that we could do this today is I don't want to be a stranger in this town. It is very important to Aradhana and me that we are part of this community and that we're known to and friends with all of you. And I'm so looking forward to having that become the case. But let me talk a little bit about who I am and what I believe and how I came into this work. So some basic facts. Let's talk about me. So some basic facts. I was born in Adelaide, Australia. I'm a native Australian. My wife tells me that I would be a lot cooler if I still had the accent. and it's true. But my folks emigrated to the United States when I was a kid, so I'm not native born. My daughter cried when she realized that I couldn't be president of the United States. And we were laughing about that just recently. We were supposed to move to California. We moved to Denver. 9 years later, during a particularly dark chapter in my parents' life and their marriage, I spent a magical summer in San Diego, which this board didn't know when they interviewed me. And I learned how to sail in San Diego Harbor. And I thought we were going to move to San Diego. And we moved to Washington, D.C. So I've had it in my head since I was 12 years old that I was going to live in San Diego. And I was determined that that would one day happen. But as you know, life takes us in different directions, and my life took me on a path that led me to journalism first, then into politics, some detours into the corporate world and advertising, but ultimately to a 30-year career in philanthropy. And I've learned a few things about this field and what I think is possible, and I think it's extraordinary. I think what Conrad Prebys gave San Diego is extraordinary. Let me tell you that in this world that I've been a part of for so long, people do not hand over their entire fortune to the benefit of the community. Everything. And if you think about, the giving pledge, which is wealthy people giving 50% of their wealth, Conrad gave, he took care of the people in his life, but he gave the rest to you. And that's a rare and amazing thing. So when I think about that as a legacy, I think a lot about what it is that we in philanthropy do and how we live up to the sacred duty that we've been given. I had a lot of magical moments in the year leading up to the moment where I took this job, where I heard about this job. But one of them was a conversation that I had in Monterey, California, with a guy named Stephen Broadus, who is a music producer, and a guy named Leon Ford, who's a fellow Pittsburgher with me. Leon is in a wheelchair because he was shot in a traffic stop by the police years ago. And yet, despite everything he's been through, is one of the most joyous people that I've ever met. And Leon and Stephen and I were talking about life and challenges and how we overcome the things that face us. And at one point, Stephen said, "You know, Grant, we all hold the key to someone else's cage." And that stopped me in my tracks, because a defining theme for me in philanthropy, what I have come to believe philanthropy is about, actually came from a poem by a 16th century Sufi mystic named Hafiz, who wrote a poem called Dropping Keys. And it goes like this: the small man, and sometimes it feels as though we live in an age of small men, the small man builds cages for everyone he knows, while the sage, who has to stoop when the moon is low, goes about dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. When I think about the work of the nonprofit sector in America and the work of philanthropy that we get to support that, it's all about minting those keys that open the doors to free others to find their own potential. It's an extraordinary gift and an extraordinary responsibility. And it has never been so hard. What I've seen over the course of the last few years is more nonprofits struggling than ever before. And they're struggling for all kinds of reasons. The ones that we all know about, COVID, and COVID isn't over yet. The impact of COVID on the nonprofit sector isn't over yet. Now we've got inflation, we've got war, we've got the markets, we've got the long overdue racial reckoning, which is still ongoing and needs to be. We've got climate change, we've got problems of inequality in our society. We've got deep health disparities. We've got gun violence, as we've experienced too often lately. And what I hear a lot of among nonprofit leaders is a feeling of exhaustion and isolation, and sometimes uncertainty about how to measure their own enthusiasm against the challenges that they're facing organizationally and societally. And yet, what I also know from having done this work over a lot of time is that the best leaders understand one thing, which is that they're not going to wait around for hope to come. They're going to be hope. The feminist author Rebecca Solnit once wrote that hope is not a feeling. Hope is an axe you use to knock down the door. And what I find with really capable nonprofit leaders, and there are many, is that they're demonstrating that kind of hope every day. So I believe, actually, in the work that we do, I believe that that's the charge of philanthropy. And I came to San Diego because I believe San Diego can lead the way. I want to repeat that. I believe San Diego can lead the way. You know, like many communities, Pittsburgh had this too. Nobody in Pittsburgh sat in the front row, just like here. And Pittsburgh had both an incredible amount of pride and an inferiority complex. And weirdly, San Diego has the same thing. You know, there's a sense that I've discerned where you're not quite sure if you're the big leagues, and you are from the standpoint of what you can demonstrate to America. So, why this opportunity? One of the first lunches I had when I came here, and I've been desperately trying to meet as many people as I can and learn from you all as quickly as I can. But one of the first people I met, wow! That's the first signal for time, right? So one of the first people I met was Mary Walshock. My wife says, you don't have to say Walshock. Everybody knows her just as Mary. And it's kind of true. But you know, one of the things that Mary said that struck me and has repeatedly struck me was that California is where the world comes to see the future. And she was saying that, too, to talk about San Diego, that San Diego is a place that the world comes to see the future. But the question that haunted me after that conversation, which she deliberately planted the seed for, was, and what will they see? What will they see when they come to California or to San Diego to see the future? I mean, the good news is kind of obvious, and you've all internalized it. The life sciences sector here is inventing the future in ways that many of us can hardly understand, but it's incredible. There's a current of innovation and entrepreneurism here which runs through the whole community, and I'm repeatedly bowled over by how many people I've met who have businesses. I sort of feel like I'm an underachiever because I don't also have a business. But it's extraordinary. It's part of the ethos in this town. There's a world-class set of assets. We're sitting in one. We're in the middle of a park that's one. We're next door to one. The institutions that are around us are among them. It is an extraordinary thing how much there is in San Diego that stands out as exceptional. And there is a collaborative spirit here, particularly among nonprofits, that I have been touched by. And there's this, I don't know, incredible optimism among people. This is a noticeably, weirdly upbeat town. I want to thank you for arranging this Pittsburgh day for me. So all of that is fantastic. It's great. But we also face a set of challenges, and sometimes it's easy to be dragged down by the challenges. I just mentioned a bunch of them a moment ago. But I also think that there's an opportunity here, and this is the opportunity that attracted me, for San Diego to take those challenges and be the model for the country and for the world to do it differently. to apply the same innovative entrepreneurism that we see in the sectors of the economy where we talk about it, to the social sector and to the solving of community challenges. And many of you in this, well, I was going to say room, but many of you are already doing this. And it's exciting to see the possibilities here for doing it more. We sit at the convergence of three nations, Mexico, the US, and the Kumeyaay Nation. We sit at the convergence of cultures. We sit really in a place that has so many different ideas and people coming together. Why shouldn't we be the place that, in a very divided world, redefines how countries think about borders? Why shouldn't we be the place that illustrates how culture can bring us together and help us overcome the ignorance and the division that afflicts the country and the world right now? Why? And we have opportunities to do that. People are working on it in this gathering. Why shouldn't we be the place to apply? We have people working on amazing aspects of education. Why shouldn't we be the place to redefine how kids learn and to arm them for success for the types of jobs that will actually exist when they graduate from school? And why shouldn't we be the place that opens up access to health care for everyone and makes sure that the extraordinary assets of our community are shared by everyone? I don't know, I'm just struck by there's so much happening in this town that if you come to it as an outsider, it is impossible not to be excited about it and not to think, this is a place where we can put our mark on the dialogue in the country and in the world at a time when everybody needs models of success. And I'm excited by that. If we can mint keys to liberate prisoners of disease here, which is what the life sciences sector does here, why can't we also mint keys to liberate people from poverty and ignorance and shame and division and racism and all the hurts that we afflict each other with? I think we can. I think that's actually the opportunity of San Diego, is to make an extraordinary difference in reinventing how we think about not just an industry, but how we think about community. So, very quickly, the role of large foundations in doing that, we're one part of the equation. I think we can tell the truth. I think we can play that role. I think we can fund research that helps us understand problems. I think we can bring people together and convene and collaborate. I think we can get conversations going among groups of organizations and people in the community, and that wouldn't happen organically, that maybe need a push or a help, but we will be part of working alongside you, not, I guess what I want to say is the Prebys Foundation isn't here to save the day. The Prebys Foundation is here to be part of your day and to be a collaborator and a partner with you. On this stage on Saturday night was the opening of the Taming of the Shrew, which I had the privilege to be here for, and I think Barry and the Old Globe are amazing. And I came to the opening of this play because I wanted to see how anybody could possibly stage this play in this day and age. And it was extraordinary. It was a phenomenal production. But there is a line in the play that grabbed me, and I was listening for it because I knew this line beforehand, and it was beautifully delivered by Kate, who is really the protagonist of the play. And I can't do it the way that she did, so I'm not going to. But she said, "My tongue will tell the anger of my heart, or else my heart concealing it will break." So here we are in a moment in our culture and in our society where there is so much hurt, and there's so much anger, and there's so much pain. And our job collectively is to be big enough to be able to absorb that and to take that in and to hear that and then to channel it into something beautiful and amazing. That's what I think collectively you do. That's what I think San Diego can do. And I'm excited about being a part of that. So let me very quickly say how I'm attempting to understand the challenge, and then I promise I'm done, then Lizette will interview me, and then you can go. So we've been meeting everyone I can. My board has been introducing me to everybody that they can. My team has as well. The whole mission over the course of the past 3 months since I've gotten here has been to ask, listen, and learn. Just ask for guidance, listen to what the answers are, and learn from what people are telling me. And I cannot thank you enough for those of you who I've had the chance to speak with. But as a group, you are the most generous-hearted and thoughtful group of people I could ever have hoped to walk into the midst of, and I'm just grateful for that. So we've been trying to learn, and because I'm only one person and our team is small, we've also been commissioning a planning firm to do some focus groups as well to extend that learning effort and gathering information from you. And 3 frameworks for our work are beginning to emerge. And I'm just going to share these with you. The first is, I think I need to affirm and clarify the framework that Conrad gave us. Because we get a lot of questions about, are you going to do what Conrad said? Yes, because that's the law. But we're also going to do it because it was a good idea. So what Conrad gave this community, aside from the dollars, was a vision, to me, a vision of community. So he said, invest in the arts, that's performing and visual. Invest in healthcare, that's research and delivery, treatment. And then he gave us the opportunity, by looking at the record of his giving, to think also about youth and to think also about higher education, particularly as it applies to innovation and to those other areas. When you think about it, that's a way, well, I'm going to save that for 1 second. I just think, it's important to say those are his areas, those are our areas, they are what we will do going forward. I also want to say that implicit in that, as we do our homework, is a commitment to the nonprofit sector. So you may have noticed before I even got here, Erin and I was going to say your team, made the decision, the foundation made the decision to invest in general operating support and multi-year grants. For those of you who are nonprofit leaders, for those of you who are nonprofit leaders, you know that we can't do that all the time, but we remain committed to that still, and we will continue to look for opportunities to do that. And I don't think it's ever been as important as it is now. In the times we're living in, it's important to be mindful of the nonprofit sector. San Diego will remain the focus of the foundation. We have made a decision, the board has made a decision to try and manage this institution for perpetuity. They want it to be around for a very long time for the future of San Diego. That's an unusual decision in this day and age. And that means that going forward, ignoring what happened in the market yesterday and Friday, that we have about $50 million a year to give away in this community, which is extraordinary. Okay, so that's framework number 1. Framework number 2 is very simple, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. And it's simply think about 2 ends of a spectrum. One is excellence and one is access. You have amazing institutions in this town. They don't just happen. They get preserved, they get created by the imagination, resources, and commitment of people. And then they get maintained over time by the willingness of a community to invest in them. Places like Balboa Park, you cannot recreate this anywhere in the world. And we should be thoughtful about how we maintain our commitment to excellence and how we continue to build on it, as this community did when it built the Rady Shell recently. Phenomenal commitment to excellence. But on the other hand, that's the what. On the other hand is the question of who. Who gets to participate in that? Who gets to be a part of it? Who gets to benefit from it? Who are we defining that excellence for? And what you begin to understand is that excellence and access are actually two sides of the same page, and that it is part of excellence to be mindful of thinking about how these things connect. And then the third framework is simply this. I've noticed in my time here that one other similarity with Pittsburgh is that, in Pittsburgh we used to say people don't like to cross rivers. In San Diego, they don't like to cross the 8. So we are all in the same boat in this region, whether we know it or not. But there's an opportunity to define the boat. We ought to be thinking about how we are many people in this community, but we're one place. We're one boat, and we share a destiny, whether we like it or not. And what an extraordinary opportunity that is. In the charter that Conrad gave us is implied a vision of community that I think is extraordinary. When you think about the arts and healthcare and youth and the training of that comes with higher ed, mind, body, and spirit are how you could translate those. And in our thinking about this, one of the themes that has emerged in conversation with all of you is that there is a core vision here around community well-being, what it means to be a well and healthy community, which again is the opportunity we get to, I think, provide for America in demonstrating how we might tackle that. There's actually literature on this, and it tells us that what counts in defining a well community is that people have and share a sense of purpose. That people have and share a sense of belonging, and that people have and share a sense of opportunity. So what we want to do with all of you is continue to explore how this foundation is a vessel for carrying forward that kind of vision of what a well community will be. And I just want to conclude my remarks by saying, give us your ideas, give us your input and your counsel, and that's all I got. So thank you. So for those of you who don't know Lisette, she is the Executive Vice President and Chief Impact Officer of MAC, and an extraordinary interviewer, but also an extraordinary leader, and I'm privileged to be interviewed by her. Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
that was phenomenal. I get the great pleasure and big task of figuring out how to have a conversation with my friend and this phenomenal human being, as well as with all of you. In the lead up to the event, I think all of you received emails from the team asking you to key up some questions. What did you want to hear? What did you want to learn from Grant? And I think much of what you talked about, you touched on during your remarks.
Sorry about that.
No, I was taking notes. It's fantastic, actually. And it's who I know you to be in the very short time that I have known you. So Grant did me the great honor of calling me his friend. And I think one of the bigger gifts of doing work in this sector is that you get to meet beautiful human beings. And there are a handful of extraordinary human beings that this work has brought to me. And I count Grant among them. And I think you saw or heard many of the reasons why I believe that to be true in his remarks just now. So the team took all the questions that you shared, tried to find common themes, and boiled them down to a few that I will cover, or try to cover, if Grant hasn't already done so. But I also want to probe some of the things that struck me as you were talking. My sense is that people want to know generally three things. Where do you think the foundation is headed? Who are you as a leader? And then who you are as a human being. So I will try to touch on questions. And I believe there is also an opportunity for you to ask additional questions today. So if any of you have questions, Aaron and Anne, I believe, are going to be on hand. I see Aaron right over there. Pass them down. We will try to cover as many questions, and then if we run out of time, we will figure out a way to get you answers as a follow-up communications. So all that being said then, you have had a lot of wonderful things said about you. Game changer, transformative thinker, visionary leader, kind soul, and a good guy. There are a lot of expectations of you and what you will be able to accomplish with the wonderful gifts that Conrad gave us. How does that feel?
Scary. No, it's, I've been privileged to do this work for a long time. And I used to tell my team at the Heinz Endowments, remember every day that it's not your name over the door.
Yeah.
And I've always had a keen recognition that money has its limits and that money is the least of it. What the money does is give me and us an opportunity to engage with people. But this is us, this is a group effort. Mm-hmm. When I say that we are small by comparison to the scale of need in our society, we are really small, when you compare us to the scale of need that exists. And I think I calculated the first time I talked to the board that you could take all of our money that we put out in a given year, and it represents the county budget for about a day. So, it's not a significant amount of money when you view it that way. And yet it's a huge amount of money compared to the way most of us think about money. And the key takeaway is that it is ultimately the relationships that matter. And hopefully I will personify that, and I'm committed to doing that.
So relationships, it's something that has been a theme both in your remarks and in the questions that were received by the team. How do you plan to be in relationship with and in conversation with the communities that the foundation is here to serve?
Yeah. This is a great question, and we will do it in a variety of ways. I hesitate to tell you, you will hear from me periodically. When something is on my mind, I tell people and I share it. So hopefully you all got the email from me after Uvalde, and I want you to know what I'm thinking and feeling and what I think the foundation believes is important in the context of major events of the day. We as a team will be continuing to meet with people on an ongoing basis, and that will be an expectation for everybody associated with the staff of the Previs Foundation. I hear such amazing stories about Conrad, and I didn't know him. So, I probably everybody in this room did, and I didn't. So imagine that. But I hear constantly about Conrad that he was curious and that he was joyful when he saw something that really caught his fancy. When he saw an idea, something that was really innovative or big, he leapt at it. And he only got to that because he was willing to talk to people. And I think he had an extraordinary sense of where to put his investments because he actually engaged in getting out to meet with people. So by extension, that's what the staff will do and what I will do.
So
we'll also survey you a lot.
There are voices that have traditionally not been at the table in philanthropy. And they are the very same voices that are knee-deep in the problems that plague our communities? How do you assure that you are hearing those voices and understanding the challenges and the strategies that they see as very valid solutions?
So I believe representation matters and participation matters, as does this board. And one of the very first conversations the board had with me before I could even ask the question was about their intention to diversify the board and to make sure that there was more representation of the community. And I talked about my commitment around doing the same with our staff. And hopefully you're already seeing and will continue to see a staff that is representative of San Diego. So that's one way. I think the other, there's an old mantra in the nonprofit arena that it matters who's in the room. And I think, we will, in everything we do, be thinking about who we're asking, who we're going to for information, who our trusted sources of information are. And it will matter to us, and I can't underscore this enough, it will matter to us that the organizations we're working with are doing the same. So it's not just an expectation that we'll hold of ourselves, but an expectation that we think we all ought to hold together because our society needs to change.
I spent a period of my life working in philanthropy, and I grew very quickly to understand that it's not as easy as giving away money. That when you do it
Now you tell me.
Well, when you are doing it thoughtfully, the strategies that you deploy matter. The funding allows certain doors to be opened, but it's those strategies. And a lot of what I heard in the remarks that came before this was about creating a sense of belonging. And we all, throughout the pandemic, more than ever, understood the importance of community and working together and feeling like we belong. And you pointed to some of that as well in your remarks. So what are some of the strategies a foundation can deploy to create a sense of belonging within a region that is as large and diverse as ours?
Yeah. So these three elements of purpose, opportunity, and belonging all connect. And it's actually impossible to just work on one at any one time because the others hold the keys to doing that as well. But if you think about it, why do you feel like you belong in this community? It's partly because you have friends who accept you. You feel respected by other people in the community. You feel heard by other people in the community. You feel like you have an opportunity to show agency, meaning you have the ability to contribute to whatever is happening in the community. And you have an opportunity to be yourself. And I think the one very obvious answer with respect to belonging is the arts. How do we tell the stories of each other in a way that we all learn from each other about what's at stake for other people and what's in their hearts? That's what the arts does, ultimately. It gives us the ability to see past maybe the constraints of our own vision to a much richer, more complex view of life and a much richer, more complex view of people. And so I just think that the arts alone are a tremendous opportunity to do that. But so are programs where we work with youth and we help them see what their contribution might be to the community or how they exercise their voice. So we can go down a list, but the thing we have to always be mindful of is that the task is not just to fund cool programs. Because I could probably, I've only been here for 3 months. I could spend the full budget of our grant making right now on cool programs, and they'd probably do some good stuff, but would they add up to thinking about how we impact these questions? No, and I think that's the harder piece, is how we knit them together.
So what is the most perplexing thing when you think about the work that's ahead of you?
Yeah.
what are you most challenged by? What do you think is the most perplexing aspect of the work?
Well, it's all perplexing. I do think the thing that makes this hard is, in part, to acknowledge that. I mean, I'm the new guy, so that's a piece of it. I am not the smartest guy in the room. And in particular, I'm not the smartest guy in the room because I don't even know the community the way everybody else does. And so you have to start from that. And it's also hard to think about how all these pieces are going to fit together and how we use our limited resources to make the biggest possible impact, and how we choose among many, many things that we care about and that we, I think like I've said, there's so many amazing things to care about in San Diego. So I'm going to very quickly be in a position of having to think differently about choices that we make among those priorities, and that's perplexing. So, I'm appropriately focused on all of that. I've been really influenced in my life and in my professional work by the Zen Peacemaker movement, which has three core principles, the first of which is not knowing or beginner's mind. And it's the idea that you approach every situation, no matter how complex, with a keen appreciation for the fact that you don't know the answer. And the wisdom will emerge from the people you meet and the conversations that you have. So as daunted as I am by that, I'm not afraid of it.
Mm-hmm. I think there's very much a strength and beauty in being the new person in the room, not coming in with the assumptions of pre-existing relationships and history.
Yeah, thank you.
So what lights you up?
Wow. A lot. You mean personally or professionally?
Let's go, well, I think we all saw on stage where you lit up with the professional. What about the personal?
Yeah. So I am the father of two grown children and the stepfather of two other grown children who are unfortunately really scattered in London, Boston, DC, and Seattle. But pretty much any time I talk with my kids, time with family does. You will all meet my wife, Aradhna. She does. She's easily the most amazing human being I've ever met. And listen, I give away money for a living. I had one going away party in Pittsburgh. She has 5. And you'll quickly realize why. But I also appreciate time to think and reflect and learn.
So I got the cue from Aaron that we have just a couple more minutes. I'm going to ask 3 more questions. And this is to give us an insight on who you are as a person.
The answers are yes, no, and no.
All right. Guilty pleasure. What is it that you are reading or watching lately that you wouldn't normally talk about in professional circles?
Wow. Well, I'm reading. So I have made a couple of attempts in my life to write thrillers, and one is actually. I'm not pushing it on. Please don't read it. I'm not pushing it, but one is actually on Amazon. But I read. I love every now and then, every third book or so, I read a thriller or murder mystery, and I'm reading the latest thing by Anthony Horowitz right now. So how about that?
That's
I'll
a good
go with
one.
that.
That's a great answer. Better than yes. What was the last concert you went to?
Oh God, I'm so terrible at this question. I actually don't remember. I know I am going to the Robert Plant and Alison Krauss concert that's coming to the Shell. That's the next one. But You know, it's actually a bizarre thing happened to Aradhana and me in Pittsburgh where we were, and it was, I mean, we all experienced this during COVID, but we were working 100% of the time. And, you know, it had all kinds of effects on us. But one of them that we realized when we were making this decision to come here was that we are going to experience life in San Diego. We're not going to do what we did in Pittsburgh and not experience life and so I hope we'll be at a lot more concerts, but I just actually don't remember my last concert.
The next concert is just as good of an answer.
Okay.
So last one, and speaking of experiencing San Diego, the audience might think that there's a right answer and a wrong answer to this one. Favorite baseball team? You're allowed to lie.
The Padres. As long as I can still root for the Steelers, since there's no competition here.
There you go.
Actually, I have to say, I did go to my first Padres game recently, and what an extraordinary venue to watch a game. And the Padres won, which isn't typical of the Pirates, so I kind of like them better right now. I'm not lying.
Good answer.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, anything else you would like to share with the audience today?
No, I think you've had enough. So I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you for doing this and for, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say thank you to all of you. It really is an honor to be among you, and I'm looking forward to what we will do together. And see you around.
Yeah.
Bye.